Well, I finally found some time to work on the old Berlina. It's been a while. The first things I did were pretty boring, so I didn't bother videoing that, but I'll show you what we've got so far. So it doesn't run, couldn't drive it up on the ramps, and I don't trust my jack stands, so I jacked it up and got it high enough to put the ramps underneath, which gave me enough space to drop the fuel tank. I'll tell you what, it's a mess in there. This car has been sitting for, I think it's around 5 years, maybe a little more, and it definitely shows. So I've got the old fuel pump over here. I'll show you what I found. Here we go. The old float mechanism was once coming off there. It's completely rusted and broken. This is all seized. That's the fuel level sender. Yeah, gross. And then the motor itself, the fuel pump motor, has no continuity. It's completely seized and rotted out. All the rubbers are rotting. I mean, it's in really bad shape. It was never ever going to work. Also, the fuel itself, my goodness, I've never seen it like this before. I wish it was smell-o-vision, but it's a really, really, really strong smell of vinegar and varnish. So it's really strong. It's clearly gone bad. It's got, looks like dirty river water. So I'm gonna take all of that out, clean out the tank, get all the bits of fuel pump that are disintegrated into the bottom. And then I've got a lovely new fuel pump over here. I picked this up at a local store. I could get a cheap one online for about $60 or $70 delivered, but learn from my mistakes, people. When you're replacing a part that's a pain to do and you've got a lot in the labor and effort, don't cheap out on the replacement part. I've done that before and I've had to go in again, and it's just not worth it. So this is a top of the range VDO fuel pump. You can get them online for about $130, $140, but I managed to get it locally from a retailer with my store discount for $180 out the door. So pretty happy with that, to pay a little bit more to have it today being a Sunday. It's nice to have it on the spot, and also a full store receipt and return policy. So happy with that. I'll clean the tank out, we'll put the new fuel pump in, hook it up, and hopefully we'll have fuel up at the motor. And fingers crossed, that means she'll start. I'll keep you posted. Okay, so we drained the tank. Luckily there wasn't too much in there. Got about 2 gallons, 8 litres, maybe a little bit more out of that. That's a 3-litre thing, and it's not quite full, and there was a little bit in there already. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that stuff, but right now it's going to sit next to the old transmission fluid out of the Honda, which I also don't know what to do, so we're collecting fluids over here. But yeah, it was a bit of a mess inside the tank. I'll show you what I found. We've got the old float from the sending unit, the old filter from the pickup, parts of fuel pump, and then this weird gelatinous rubber stuff that's disintegrating. All sorts of fun there. Yeah. And so it's like that all through the fuel tank, so I'm gonna get some cloths in there, clean it out as best as I can. Definitely a good job that the fuel pump failed. Actually, we lucked into something there, because if the fuel pump had worked and had sent all that nasty fuel up into the injectors and things like that, then I'm sure we'd have much bigger problems. Hopefully we've avoided them. So we'll clean this up, get some clean fuel in it, put it all back together, and you never know. See what happens. Okay, so we've cleaned up the fuel tank a bit, got all the nasty fuel out, given it a wipe inside. I worked out what that gross black sludgy stuff was. At the base of the filler neck is like a skirt or a curtain that stops the fuel splashing back up the neck, and that skirt had completely rotted out and failed, so I ripped the rest of it off. That's that bit just there, and then I've given everything a clean out inside. Let's see if you can see what it's like in there. It's not too bad now. So yeah, we'll put it all back together, put the new fuel pump in, and give it a go, see what happens. Oh, and if any of you have any idea what to do, something clever to do with all the old fluids over there, let me know in the comments, because I don't want to just throw it out. I feel like it has better value than that. I'm thinking dilution is the solution on the fuel. Put it in the old lawnmower or something. Little bit by little bit, I'll eventually get through it. But as for the transmission oil, I don't know, I'll have to get an ex-military truck that burns anything and deal with it that way. That sounds like a logical solution. So just before we put everything back together, I've hooked the fuel pump up to the wiring loom in the car, make sure everything's working as it should, and I'll just turn the ignition on and hopefully it'll make some noise for us. So let's see what happens. Oh, that's a good sign. It's a very happy sound. Got nothing out of the old one for obvious reasons, but that one is making a nice whirring sound, so I declare it working. I'll put it in the tank. Well, here we are under the car. We have our new fuel pump in right there. These are our fuel lines and return lines and evap lines, so they're going to plug in there, and we'll slap her up. Hopefully we'll have some success. Okay, the tank is up. Everything's hooked up. Put about 15 litres or 4 gallons of new fuel in. Haven't tightened everything up, but I'm going to give it a crank and see what happens. If I was smart, I'd say it was because I wanted to test everything because I tightened it down, but to be honest, it's just because I'm impatient and a little bit excited to see what happens. So let's see. Hear the fuel pump kicking in. Alright, nothing there. We'll try some starter fluid, see what happens. Okay, some good old Aussie start, you bastard. We're going to put it right in there. So that's the air intake mass airflow sensor. This is the connector into the manifold. So take that off. We're going to spray it down in there. Give it a good spray, couple of seconds, and see what happens. We've given it a spray of ether. See if we have any luck. Okay, that's just the ether firing. No, nothing yet. So I've quickly elicited some outside help. As you can see, it's not the only Commodore in the family. I've given it another spray of ether. You could hear that battery dying with the crank, so let's see if we've got anything better now. No, nothing yet. Been bumming around with the ether and jumper cables and things for about the last 5 minutes. But the last time I cranked, it was hopeful, so I'm going to see. I've given it one more big squirt of ether. Let's see what happens. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, that was running on its own fuel, so let's see. It's a good sign. Alright, she's running on her own fuel. Don't think she has an idle, but it is running. Happy day. Oh, look at that. Foot off the accelerator. Happy day. It's a big moment for me. Okay, she's running under her own steam. We're gonna see if she'll move under her own power. Trusty sidekick over here. Let's see, if it does, it'll be the first time in about 5 years that it's moved. Ooh, that felt good. Let's see what happens. We're coming down off the ramps right now. Okay. Okay, we've moved the ramps, we're running under our own steam. Let's see if she drives. Very exciting. For me anyway. And there she is, everybody. Got herself out, ready for her first bath in over 5 years. Just a quick, pure self-indulgent video, now that she's been running a few minutes, just to hear how good she still is, even after 5 years of nothing. So smooth. No rattles, no funky noises, smooth idle, low fuel. Bought this car when it was 3 years old. It's now over 20 years old, and I'm very happy to have her back.